you do?
Okay, good God, that was loud. Jesus. All right, so I'm glad to hear the mic is working this week. My name is Cody with Taking20, and I have some incredible people with me, as always. We have Dave Friant with Nerdarchy, we have Jim Davis and Jonathan Pruitt with the one and only WebDM, and of course, our D&D sex icon, behind the screen, Will Jones with Encounter Roleplay. So before we get started tonight, we want to give a huge shout out to all of our sponsors for making this show possible. So a big thank you to Fantasy Grounds, who is our virtual tabletop of choice. All of the maps that you guys see here on the stream are built in Dungeon Painter Studios by pyromancers.com. Of course, we want to give a big thank you to ThinkGeek. If you guys want to pick anything up last minute for Christmas, ThinkGeek is the place to go. And of course, we want to give a big thank you to Shapeways, which is the go-to destination for 3D dice and printed miniatures. With no further ado, Will Jones.
Last week on Save or Dice, the party found themselves saving the playtester of the group, who we did a lot of playtesting on last week. We were off to save Calium as he was trapped in the clutches of these psychopath needles. She was torturing him in all sorts of horrific physical and emotional ways. And the party basically broke into this underground, bizarre hospital with these strange nurses and doctors who were clearly not doing the right thing. Calium was in Ward C, the corruption ward. They managed to bust their way in there via a series of a comedy of errors, really, followed by a few swift thrusts of Wyrme's thunder cannon into nurses and doctors along the way until they eventually found themselves at Calium's room. Something of a trap was left there by Needles for the group. However, the party were ingenious and using the power of magic and science together managed to defeat Pipes. And via the power of science and magic, the Pipes blew up and the party managed to make good their escape. However, upon their return, they found that Ajax's son, Eddard, was no longer alive. In fact, he had been risen from the dead by Curtis Wyrme, the vampire, per Wyrme's request, and he is now an undead aberration. Then that's where we find ourselves, back at Castle Rocke, where it all began, with Curtis Wyrme, the 7-foot vampire, charming as he is, ally to the party, who has somewhat unwillingly risen Ajax's son to be before them, who stands now before you with some flesh kind of sloughing off his face. Most of it's still there, as he was quite a fresh corpse. And he kind of stares at you with lifeless eyes, Ajax. And Curtis Wyrme says, Wyrme thought it would be a good idea if I were to bring your son back.
It is what he wanted.
And for the second time today, Ajax stares at his son in sort of bewilderment. And Ajax is looking for any sign of recognition from Eddard. He'll cautiously approach, because you said he's like coming down the stairs. Okay. Ajax will cautiously approach and just, Eddard are you there? Is that you?
There's a slight flicker behind his eyes of recognition, you think. But that might just be Ajax wanting to see that.
Mm-hmm.
He doesn't reply.
He'll get about 10 feet away and look to Curtis. What did you do?
I brought him back as much as I could. This is a process, though. Not everything might be there right now. He might.
How long will it take?
I don't know. He might regain all of his memories. He might regain none of them.
Thank you. Whatever it takes, I will do it. And he stares at Eddard, but he's not. He doesn't want to get too close.
Mm-hmm. He looks at the kind of fallen form of Calium, who's been pretty well mashed up, say the least, and says, "The group of you look awful. You need a rest and healers."
How does Ajax's son look around the very bloody and wounded Calium?
You don't sense any hunger there.
That's good.
He doesn't look pale like Curtis does. I mean, he looks pale because he's got like dead flesh and there's no blood running for him, but he's not that kind of like porcelain white skin. He's more akin to the zombified creatures that you met earlier on in the campaign under Kathleen Van Deun something or other's command. It's been a few weeks and it's late. You know what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
The guy who's watching this throw on YouTube one after another knows exactly what I'm talking about. Yeah.
So he's not doing any kind of
He's like standing still, right? And he's kind of, like this.
I'm just in disbelief. Like I can't even handle all the emotional roller coaster of what has happened especially after the breakdown to Ajax about not being able to save his son. So I'm just just like totally lost at this point.
What sort of medical attention does Calium need?
All of it?
Yeah, all of the help. Calium definitely needs a lot of rest, a lot of painkillers, probably some restructuring of those bones there. He could do some help.
I feel like he's in the right place if he needs a blood transfusion now.
Yes, that is one
Take
very...
him down to the tap room.
Let's go find Tad and get me fixed up.
Get him a bed next to him.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Oh no, that's the other guy. I'm thinking the old guy, the guy that worked for the
Graham.
vampire.
Graham, yeah.
Graham. Sorry, wrong guy.
Vadin will calmly walk up to Eddard. I mean, like, within like a foot or two, and slowly just look him over, and basically, I just want to do like a medicine check if possible without touching him.
Yeah.
Just checking all, his eyes, like see if his pupils move,
Yeah, roll me a medicine check, that makes sense.
Well, probably as good as I can do without touching him.
Yeah, so like in terms of like his eyes like following you, they seem to be able to, so he's not like concussed. Like his vitals are kind of there. You think you see him breathing? Maybe? Like he definitely like moves as though he's respiring. But there is no blood flowing.
Yeah, he'll go ahead and risk it and just like actually check for a pulse, like.
Yeah,
put his
there
hand.
is no pulse, which would confirm your suspicion that he is undead.
And I'll just kind of look over my shoulder at Ajax and just give him a kind of a crestfallen look, and then just follow them in. I guess they're taking Calium in.
Yeah, Ajax is helping with that. He's a little nervous to spend much time interacting with Eddard. Whatever process is going on, he doesn't want. He feels like he's going to jinx it.
Okay. Curtis will definitely lead you guys back up and get you to some healers. To basically field physicians who are able to probably just like knock Calium out with a ton of painkillers at this point. This guy just needs to be asleep for like ever, you think, under like heavy medication. Probably doesn't take much for Calium to pass out at this point either, just from like sheer exhaustion as well. And the rest of you as well, like most of you guys are like, Ajax is pretty rough, I remember, and Vadin and Wyrme are at least a little bit scrapped up, right?
Yeah, a little bit. Yeah, I mean, all my slots are spent. So.
Okay. So you can pass the time however you would like in Castle Rocke as we enter into a 1 to 2 week phase of like downtime, basically, during which there is planning, there is healing, there is rest and recuperation, and there is taking stock.
All right, Cody, cue the montage. You're not quite there yet.
The trailer, because I can do that. Whole chats at one time. Fuck no, please don't.
I want a Muppet style montage.
Doom 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 doom. No, I wouldn't do that to you guys.
No, Cody, you don't know what the Muppets are.
I'm 30, bro. Will doesn't know what the Muppets are.
Mate, I am a Muppet. All right, so let's go around and let's go around the table and let's see what you guys want to be up to during this kind of rest phase, I suppose. Tad is totally here, by the way, in case anyone needs to send any pigeons out or any ravens out. He is totally available for service anytime you want, sir, please. And Curtis Wine is also here, ready to plot and plan as well. You're next.
I will actually be sucking up a lot of Tad's time as my apprentice. He's going to learn to tinker, so he's probably going to be like smudged with grease and grime all the time, and probably cuts on his fingers. I will split up my time between that, and I keep pulling out of my bag these pieces, and like there's like a big lobster claw and these plates, and I spend a lot of time working on that, and the rest of the time I try to stealthily spy on Eddard because I'm curious about this Frankenstein-ish monster.
Interesting. Curtis keeps him downstairs out of the light most of the time. He claims that he's currently very sensitive to light at this point, as a freshly risen undead, and that his body's going through a lot of changes at the moment.
Much like any teen boy.
Much like any teen boy.
Stay in the basement.
Stay down there and play Dungeons and Dragons.
Stay down there and keep it dark. No one wants to see what's going on.
Ma'am!
So yes, Eddard hangs out in his mum's basement for a while, and how much as well. Ajax, what are you up to during this time?
So Ajax probably splits his time 3 ways. One would be conferring with the rest of the party on just like the defenses of the castle. He's very cagey. Last time he got stuck in a castle, it didn't turn out well for him, so he's just kind of he usually paces the halls that way. He might make his way towards wherever the captain of the guard or sergeant at arms is and see if they need any assistance in training or drilling the small force that Turner Rock has.
Absolutely, the master at arms here. She is more than willing to take any assistance that Ajax has to offer. She says that people saw the way that you fought, and she wants her men to fight like that, basically.
Yeah, Ajax is an infantry man. He doesn't know much about heavy cavalry other than how to knock them off their high horse. So, but he's perfectly willing to drill any of the soldiers that are there. And then he probably spends a good portion of his evenings seeing if he can't just talk to Eddard, and just talk to him.
Try to get through
whatever. Yeah.
Yes. Of note, the heavy cavalry. Very similar relationship between infantrymen and cavalrymen as it would be in like World War One. Cavalrymen are the rich guys that could afford horses, and the infantry, the poor bloody infantry, basically.
Right.
So there's probably a fair amount of distaste between your groups anyway. But yes, as Knightley, you could try and speak to your son. He is pretty unresponsive over the course of the first week. Towards the second week, he'll begin to utter grunts and occasional movements as well. So you think that you're making some kind of progress with him. Although it's not the progress necessarily that you're hoping for.
Right.
But it's something at the very least.
I mean, I imagine there's a fair bit of delusion going on in Ajax's mind right now as well, as he justifies a lot of the things that he's asked Curtis to do. It's like, oh, it's working. He's every day. There's more and more of him coming back.
Yeah. Perfect. Vadin.
El is going to split his time between studying as much as Curtis will talk to him about it, what he did to Eddard. It's, bringing someone back like this is the power over life and death is something that it interests him. Also spending time with Eddard, probably away from Ajax when Ajax is there. And then working with Calium, like helping heal him and trying to get him as quickly back on his feet as possible. Since, I do have curative abilities. So,
okay. Absolutely.
So yeah, that's pretty much it.
All right. And Calium, I mean, we know what you're up to, but is there anything in particular Calium would want to do other than just, heal up?
Not a lot, honestly. Calium is he's not even walking the halls when he gains the ability to walk again. He's not even trying to do that or to be observant or to glean. Really, he is exhibiting a more downtrodden type of personality at the moment, where he's almost in a depressing funk, and it's pretty obvious, I think, to anybody who is observing him, that even though he's typically quiet, this is something different entirely. And so, he'll obviously speak with Vadin very, very little bit whenever they're doing any type of rehab or healing and stuff like that. And that's pretty much it. He's going to try to confine himself for the most part to his room.
Okay. So after a few weeks of rest and recuperation and getting up to some shenanigans along the way, no doubt, Curtis Wine will ask an audience of the group of you back in his main hall, and he says that there will be food, and of course there will be wine, as befitting a man of his name. So the group of you will find yourselves down there, maybe sometime in the afternoon, evening. Calium feels strong enough to walk again, and the rest of you can, slunk off any duties because this is more important. Curtis will meet you down there, of course, to remind you guys of what he looks like. 7 feet tall, vampire, swirling tattoos all over him, and strangely enigmatic, despite being someone who's been dead for hundreds of years. So he does have a odd attraction about his self, despite the fact this guy to be pretty kind of crazy, actually. Like, he just does suck blood out of people, and that's how he gets through the day. That's what he works for.
So he does.
He puts his fangs in one at a time, just like anyone else.
Yes.
Ajax is super jelly.
Just like all of us back home.
Seems kind of judgmental the way you put it, to be honest with you.
Just popping in and think of Christmas and you're home. So,
why has he called us here? Why have you called
actually
us here?
to talk about exactly this? No. I put it just like you. No, he has called you here to talk about your next step, basically. So he says, "Come on, everybody, take a seat, take some wine, and enjoy yourselves for a bit. How are we all doing? Calium, I see those legs are working a bit better again."
Indeed they are. Thanks to Vadin and the hospitality here.
I understand that whilst we don't have a hospital, it was somewhat more hospitable than the place that you last visited.
He kind of winces at the word hospital.
Mm-hmm. And Wyrme, you've been keeping the boy busy, I see.
Yes, it's been a long time since I've been able to just relax and getting up to my elbows in the work. It's always been with the selling and the fightings. This has been kind of relaxing.
I'm glad you've been able to kick back a little bit over the past few weeks. I believe things are about to get a little bit more heated again. And to Ajax, he says, "And progress with Eddard. How goes it?"
It goes well. He is responding more and more to our talks. I think that one day he will recover some of his old self and rejoin us, even if it is in a different state.
Kind of shoots a glance towards Elvadine, which is like a little bit uncertain of that. And Elvadine, I must thank you for your healing of Calium. Been most useful.
Well, if one has gifts, they should share them, should they not? No matter the cost.
Correct, of course.
But yes, Calium heals well.
Good.
I'd like to see him up and about more, but we all heal at our own pace.
Of course, of course. Well, I've gathered you here all today for a reason, because I believe I'm going to need your assistance once again in our effort. Seems as though some of those who would work against us now know who we are and who you work for with. And wait, what was that, mister?
I didn't tell him anything, I promise.
Curtis Wine looks at the camera. Ooh, I've been naughty. Did you pick up on a clue? Oh, sorry, that was just my foreshadow I cast out over there onto the fields. Usually not shadowy, it's just a little bit overcast. So yes, he says those who work against us seek to put us to an end. They know where we are, and they have forces that are mobilizing towards us.
What sort of forces?
The unfriendly kind.
Are they marching en masse?
He nods and says, we reckon their number to be several hundred strong at least. This may very well just be the first wave of many to come.
And how many soldiers have we observed here?
Let me find the exact number for you. It is not that many.
How many vampires?
Well, you don't know exactly how many vampires. So you got 50 heavy cavalry that are within the castle itself, which are available at any time. And then there are the standing forces, about 100 men and women who would be available to fight, infantry, 50 archers, and that's pretty much it. And then you've got like the house, like Castellans. So there's like a few bodyguards, basically, who would be there to defend Sir Rocke. Who would be
Ajax, that's worth like 50 soldiers right there.
Right, exactly. But that is the kind of number that you're looking at. And if you got several hundreds, 200, 300, like this is no big deal.
Yeah.
I mean, we have a castle, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
And vampires.
And vampires.
You reckon 50% of them might be vampires?
And knowledge that they're coming.
Yeah. Is there a way to, Ajax immediately wants to begin plotting our defense, and he has his own ideas about it. But is that this is all no need to discuss it if they can just pass through our walls if a Darian is with them, yes? If he can.
Presumably he is.
Yeah.
Or at least somehow involved.
Yeah.
You think a Darian is involved in this march on the castle?
The one who captured you, Needles. As far as we know, she's still alive. Or maybe if she's dead. Either way, I imagine his vengeance must be involved here.
He seemed like such a nice old man in that wheelchair.
Oh, the nice ones always do. They're the most dangerous ones, Wyrme. That's why you trust dangerous men like me.
Perhaps we should just leave.
That's a thought.
And what would vampires do as they begin to hunger from their arrangements no longer being nearby.
Let them feed on the populace of the capital, if that's what it comes to.
Perhaps they can just move their operation.
We have a very delicate business that we have protected for hundreds, thousands of years. Much of it has been in and out of Castle Rocke. We are loath to leave our home.
What if we tip off the Empire? Let them fight each other.
Now, it'll take an army weeks to get down here.
Yes.
Perhaps we should unleash the hounds.
Yes, I do hear the dogs baying.
They are vicious beasts.
Do we know exactly who leads the forces against us?
He shakes his head and says, I would expect for us to do a scouting raid, an expedition, first of all, and perhaps we can gather some more information about them. Who exactly they are, how they intend to get here. What they want with us as well. Are they ready to bargain, or are they here just to fight us till death?
That's true. It's possible if we flee, then they might have cause to move on.
It has not escaped my consideration that it is you that they are after. But at the same time, our agreement is such that we will protect you.
My understanding is they're not very fond of you and yours either.
You are correct in that understanding. There is no love lost between the group of us. I imagine it is a 2-in-1 for them, as it were.
Yeah.
They certainly knew of you in my interrogation. It was made plain to me that Needles, anyways, was aware of you.
From the very beginning, they named them as enemies in league with the Empire.
But specifically,
Blood, they said.
specifically Curtis.
Ah.
And I kind of look over to him.
I don't make friends easily.
Well,
Tell us of your...
You're so good looking.
Speaking of which, perhaps you could enlighten us on your dealings with Needles. You speak of her so casually.
I've never dealt with her, merely observed.
For how long have you observed?
Time is a tricky way of getting out of my hands these days. A few years, perhaps.
She could easily infiltrate the castle and kill us all in our sleep. Wyrme, what sort of defenses can you engineer for us? Some surprises for our enemies.
What kind of resources has Castle Rocke shown to be available?
Are we talking just defenses here, or are we talking
Raw
like
materials.
Raw materials. They can get you like pretty large shipments of most commodities and goods.
Oh, wait a minute. There's a swamp nearby, isn't there?
Yeah, we are kind of set outside a swamp.
Yes. Given some time and some exploration of the nearby swamp, I could probably harvest some gases that will be quite an explosive surprise for our friends coming.
Well, that would be fantastic. How far away are they? Do we know?
He says, we have at least 3 days until their arrival. Hence why I bring this to your attention. Now, if you did wish to move on, then I could see it to you returning to the capital, or you wish to stay here and defend with us, and of course we would appreciate that. But it is not necessary either. We still have a mission to kill every member of the 100, of course.
Yes.
This seems like a distraction from that.
It does seem that way, but right now you are our strongest allies, and it would not do to abandon you in this moment, I think. We live or die together.
I like that.
Yeah, Ajax is prepared to conduct another siege if need be.
I find that agreement a little bit one-sided. They're already dead.
Still have a lot to lose.
Is there perhaps something we could do to harass their approach and delay it?
He nods and says, I don't have a great deal of scouts around here. Knowing their forces, their numbers could be useful. Some of you have abilities to move where others cannot so easily.
Even if we dispatched or disposed of whoever's leading this charge, hopefully not Odarian or Needles themselves, do you have information that would lead you to believe that they would not simply send another wave and another wave after that?
Seems like they already had Fletcher under their command, which would mean that there are a great deal of resources out there which they command. There's nothing to say if we weren't to take out one force that there would not be another, no. But something tells me that if we could find Needles, we would be able to break their operation.
If she's there, perhaps we'll spot her, or at the very least.
Something tells me that she'd be there.
I don't think that... I think we dealt her a wound to her pride, at least, when we rescued Calium. I think she might want revenge.
Is there any way to out the Fletchers to the Empire? Let them kill each other.
He says, well, yeah, but we'd need to be back in the capital.
And who should send them word, Wyrme? The outlaws who just led a rebellion against them and escaped certain death? Or Castle Rocke's men? Maybe a coward's messenger would be better received by the Emperor.
Yes, your cover is somewhat...
I was thinking a nice raven.
The Emperor does not just receive ravens from anybody, Wyrme. Your cover is somewhat blown in the capital. So, we'd need another way in. Another disguise, perhaps. Or maybe...
There's no way that we can stay here. Your hospitality has meant wonders to us, and we would like to continue to work with you, of course, but as long as we are here, we are threatening your operation. An operation that, if something should go awry, no offense, I don't necessarily believe that would be in the best interest of the people of the countryside. Perhaps we should make our strike against this invading force and lead them further west or further east, away from this particular place. Maybe we could even take something from them and tire them on a little bit of a chase until we can gather more information.
I like the sound of that. I imagine they would think we would hole up here. Wouldn't be expecting a surprise attack.
How many of the castle's men would be willing to aid us in... We need to strike with sufficient force that they perceive us as a threat and would want to give chase. They wouldn't want a hostile army wandering the countryside, but 4 or 5 of us might not be enough.
Yes, the men do as I command, but we'd of course need to leave a force back here. Could not leave the castle undefended. You could take the cavalry with you, though.
Mounted, we'd be much more mobile. Could outmaneuver them, hit them where they are weakest. I think our cavalrymen might find themselves a bit overburdened if they didn't travel lightly. But if they were perhaps willing to shed some of their equipment, some of their kit, we could ride fast.
Agreed. You should speak with the Master of Horse, Lorgan. He's a bit of a... he's stuck in his ways. But you should be able to convince him.
Very well.
You could lead him wherever you want. Run rings around him or lead him back to the capital. or just try and lose them out there in the wilds.
Perhaps a few of them will get lost in the swamp along the way.
Agreed. And then, of course, this business with the 100. You'd still need a plan after that.
What do we know of the countryside in this area? Like, what do we know of the terrain? Is there a nearby castle? Is there a nearby 100? What can we gather out here if we're trying to put together a plan to go out and strike them and then lead them into mountains or into a swamp or?
Yeah, there's swampland all around. There is not another fort nearby, so leading towards another castle doesn't seem like a particularly viable plan. Were to head, westwards far enough, you'd reach the territory of another member of the 100. I mean, that is just how these things go. Eventually, you end up in someone else's land. But most of the land around here is farms and countryside. And there is not a great deal of places of interest around here. There are hills, there are woods, there are villages, and there are towns. But when you're thinking about, could we lead this person to another member of the 100's, home base or whatever, not really what you're looking at in this particular area. If you were to head northwards far enough, you get towards the capital. And then things become a lot messy around the capital because you've got the whole Emperor's presence there and the knights. So there's a possible conflict there you could lead them into. And then you could just lose them southwards in the marshes.
Well, that's what I was going to ask.
They're never going to find you,
Yeah, Vadin was going to ask. You've been here for hundreds of years. Certainly there are ways through these swamps that you know of that a pursuing force might get bogged down in the marshes.
Is this to Curtis?
To Curtis, yeah.
Yeah. He nods. He'll say, yes, losing in the marshes, I mean, you could have them there for ages. Part of the tactics in the War of the Fawns was just to try and lose all of the armies in the marshlands. Eventually, you ended up making a kind of desperate last stand at Fort Howlester. But there is definitely ways that a small group of people could go completely undetected for years at a time and lose armies in there. It's possible they wouldn't even follow you into the marshes. One thing that Calium would know as well is that your Mistwalker order are somewhere in the marshes.
Oh, okay.
And they are it's a bit like when you go to Yoda's home planet, right? This you don't know exactly where they are. You kind of have to get lost to be able to find them. It's an island that's lost. Only those who know where it is.
Of course, I've spent many years there. The best way to travel through the marshes is to not travel traditionally at all.
Exactly.
The marshlands is my home.
And your order have power, right?
Absolutely.
It's just whether or not they bring it to bear.
Would they shelter us, Calium?
It's hard to say. I didn't leave on best of terms, ironically. As you know, there was once a time that I didn't always fight on this particular side in the war. But again, that is my sin to bear.
I think perhaps the best course of action then is to lead them south into the marshes. How many of them we can pick off, how many of them we can waste away to disease and poor supplies, and perhaps they will give up or turn around. The vampires have lasted this long. I find it hard to imagine they have only one stronghold that they can retreat to.
True. Well,
what concerns me is getting back to our original mission. I'd like to be done with this in my lifetime.
Yes. Well,
Curtis nods. He says, yes, most of the 100 are within the city of Ostwald. Your best chance to kill all of them is there.
best chance to get caught unless we have a solid cover.
At a certain point, the Blood Angel will start to seem attractive.
Well,
my
vote is temporarily to head to the marshland. What's up?
There is something, I suppose. You mentioned us leaving this place, and well, these vampires here are enough to tear an entire city around. The problem is, though, when all of the knights are well organized, we'll get cut to ribbons, piece by piece. When Adarian is around, his mage hunters will have us in a moment. If we could get rid of this Needles, get rid of Adarian's forces, you could get me and the vampires into the city. We could tear that place up in a night. Just put us in the right places.
So why was Adarian so set on making us believe you were in league with the Empire?
He's a manipulator.
He could have left that part out.
Curtis,
Empire.
You are a manipulator. Let's speak plainly.
Of course, it takes one to know one.
We have come to appreciate your unique position. I'm sure you can understand that loosing a large or small vampire horde upon the capital gives us pause.
Understood. I figured I'd offer up some contribution. Of course, I leave the plan to wiser minds such as yourselves. I'm merely the funder of your operation.
I actually kind of like the plan of unleashing a vampire horde on the city.
You guys are Brad Pitt and what's his name in Ocean's 11, and you'd come to the guy, what do you got against Terry Benedict? You know, and he torpedoed my casino. That's basically what this guy is. Don't make me recite the whole scene.
Well, we need to know who's coming after us, what their forces are. At this point, we're making decisions blind.
You don't have it when you assume.
I think we should lead a small scouting force quickly. Don't engage with them. Just find out what they know.
I agree.
Who leads them?
Didn't we start this thing, Ajax, with you being all for the common man, and now you want to feed them to vampires?
Ajax kind of like turns to Wyrme, and his demeanor is very cold, very just. That was before they tortured us and made a mockery of our leader. These people don't deserve the freedom that we fight for them, but I am sick of there being masters and betters who tell us what to do, and I don't care how they're brought down, only that they are laid low.
But I am concerned for the commoners. Sure, they cheered and jeered for the awful things, but they live awful lives.
Yes, they do. And those that survive will perhaps understand the sacrifices that we had to make in order to give them their freedom.
By being the ones that weren't fed to the vampires?
The vampires have been here all along, and we never knew it. I'm sure that once the fighting has settled, a new equilibrium will be established with the vampires and the populace.
Exactly.
Well, Fitz Curtis.
None taken, one. Equilibrium is what we desire.
Yeah, he nods to Curtis.
But scouting sounds good.
Scouting does sound good.
Perhaps we combine the plans. We cut off the head of the snake of this invading force, just like we planned. Rendezvous with our colleagues of the night and head north to invade the city. leading along whatever remaining forces could leave them vulnerable to a flank from behind from our Nightwalkers here. One fell swoop. Leave them leaderless, hit them from behind, rendezvous, and head to the capital.
Sounds like a plan.
It is a very complex plan.
I kind of look over at him like, is he being facetious right now?
I can never tell. Everything he said sounds.
This guy has no emotion.
Part of his charm.
Ajax is ready to go scout this out tonight.
Okay. Cody says, take some horse if you're going to go.
Yeah.
You didn't speak to Lorgan.
So, is this the plan? Are we going to tell them to go ahead? I mean, I assume that you said they're 3 days out, right?
3 days out.
So, I mean, if we go scouting tonight, and that's the plan that the vampires have to be ready to mobilize, like, almost immediately.
Yeah, I imagine we would.
Or are we just going to scout?
We would have to race out there, figure it out, and race back, and then we'd probably have less than a day to execute.
3 days for them or for us, because an army moves slower.
Much slower than just like 5 of us.
Right. 3 days for them to get there. So 5 riders and horseback, you could be out there and back a day and a half, maybe,
Okay.
Okay.
Kind of time
Then let's go scouting.
I mean, let's talk to Lorgan before, just so that they know what the idea is and they can be ready to go as soon as we come back.
Sounds good.
Although somebody else might want to talk to Lorgan. I get the impression that they won't like me very much.
We'll make Al do it.
All right. Elvadine, you spot this guy who's a master of horse around here.
Mm-hmm.
He has an unkindly disposition, I suppose. He is kind of like top button done up kind of guy walking around in this like frilly suit, and his like horse armor as well. And of course, like he's got this very nice saddle, and he kind of comes off it and flops his hair backwards. He is totally a vampire, by the way. And he wears this old like French Revolution age doublets and frilly kind of robes everywhere, and kind of like, gets down off the horse of a. That's how all Frenchmen dismount horses in case educational training.
Right.
Just wait until you hear the voice go.
Oh, I can't wait.
I'm going to mute now.
I'm sorry, France. Who am I kidding? No, I'm not.
No, you're not.
No.
So you must be the esteemed master of horse, Lorgan.
May we?
We come with a request and a plan. Could we perhaps procure a few mounts for scouting for the approaching force? And maybe we might require your men for a bit of a raid and really take it to the enemies of the Order of the Chalice.
Kind of looks you up and down. Who are you?
I am Vadin. We have been guests to your Lord Curtis Fine.
Gives you another look up and down. He like raises an eyebrow in a slightly flirtatious way. Oh. Seems pleased by what he sees. Good. You may take the horse.
Yes.
And he like brings one round for you.
Shall
Gives it a slap on the rump.
You know how to treat an animal.
I'm kidding, he's not meant to be this fucking. That's weird. I had to go further.
Push that envelope. Just keep going.
You push it till you get a cut.
You just put.
Sponsors just love this shit.
It's done really well to a European audience of Frenchmen.
Mm-hmm.
Do you know how to treat an animal? Was the question, right?
I think the question was, yeah, man, can we have some horses?
Yes, perhaps we could get 4 more for my friends.
So fucking irrelevant. That's so funny about it.
I think it's sleep deprivation talking. Well,
It might be, yeah. It might be. Oh yes, you can take the horses as long as you bring them back in time.
we will, and we will treat them well.
Good, good. Then I will be seeing you, my friend.
I'm sure at some point. Just lead the animal away.
He moves off, leaving you alone and uncomfortable.
I head back to the group with the animals. Be like, well, I have procured the horses.
Very good.
And I thank his affections.
Interesting.
Mm.
Could we use it to our advantage?
At some point, probably, but best not press the advantage yet.
Purely tactical. Do I get advantage on it?
Oh man.
All right. Ajax ready to go.
Yeah, let's do it.
Yep.
All right, let's do it. So log animal, we'll watch you go as you ride out. And the group of single sound he makes may convey so much emotion.
Definitely going to use this to our advantage.
Quite a fine ride, is she not?
Thought it was platonic at first, but maybe not.
Wow, you totally misjudged that one, Dave. You clearly never have been to France, Dave. Yeah, no. The group of you ride out to meet them. Who's leading the way? Let's give me a survival check from someone in the party. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Seems like that should be Ajax's gig.
Yeah, I got some
Yeah.
survival.
He knows how to survive.
Let's see. Here we go. Hey, dirty 20.
Dirty 20, my favorite kind.
So close to a 3, bud.
Dirty.
So close.
Tantalizingly. Ajax leads you along the path and makes very good progress. As the group of you head through into your second day on horseback, and they are indeed very fine horses as well. You will note Vadin with some admiration the way which they move, and they have such stamina as well. And what do I read Twitch?
I have no regrets.
I just have to DM my eyes closed. Last week it was fucking Jim. I couldn't look at his face. Now I can't look at Cody. Okay. Whew, I am.
Oh, that's going to be the title.
I am serious too. I am serious too. As you head into your second day, you begin to see tracks that an army have been moving through this area. You can't be far away from them now. Judging by the tracks, they're probably making fairly slow going progress because they're bringing with them wagons and the like for provisions and supplies for the army. They don't have like a unit of cavalry with them as far as you can see, but there are like some horse, so most likely like commanders and captains would find themselves on horseback, get to ride around a little bit more. However, you would estimate this force, 200-300 probably. And the way that this road has been carved out would suggest that this is a kind of travel way for other armies to go down as well. Just really long, straight roads, basically. So it's entirely possible that they're probably A, well supplied based on this line, and B, there may be more of them coming as well. However, you're going to be coming up from behind them. Ajax has led you in such a way that when you see these initial tracks, you kind of come up from behind them. So they might have a rear guard, but it's probably not going to be what they'd be expecting.
Okay.
Because these guys don't even think you guys are necessarily coming out to meet them. Right?
There's the fact that they don't seem to be traveling with any cavalry throws Ajax off. They're either foolish or arrogant. So we can maybe use that to our advantage. We should keep an eye out for a rear guard, but we need to see what they have. Perhaps they're bringing siege engines in those wagons as well.
Will Jones, is there a? I don't know why I always say your last name. Is there banners? How are they identifying themselves? Is there colors or anything like that we can see?
If you guys wanted to like get up closer, you could totally like try and get behind the army. So at this point, what I'm saying is basically you guys have got the tracks. You're going to be coming up from behind them. You can decide how to proceed. Like if you were to travel for an hour, you'd probably see the back of the army.
Okay, I misunderstood. I understand now.
Yeah, no worries. If you wanted to sneak around the side, or if you guys wanted to at this point say, actually, we know that there are a couple hundred of them. Let's go. Then that would be the time.
I'd like to at least see them. Ajax will caution against attacking them unless they attack us. But if we could at least parallel them, if they're like going this, we could like get so we're kind of like riding alongside them, but have maybe trees or terrain in between so that there's a screen, and then maybe we can like scout further in from there.
Okay.
Wouldn't that be called flanking them? A flanking maneuver?
Yeah, basically.
Okay.
Execute the flanking maneuver.
Execute Order 66. Yeah. So.
And the younglings.
The sand everywhere. And yeah, you guys look up into the sky and you're like, wait a minute, that's not a moon. That's a Death Star they've got up there.
Shit.
Yeah.
The Jeff Star.
Oh, we're screwed.
Episode 4 all over again. So,
well, they just gotta keep fucking making it, so just saying.
So, written and directed by George Lucas.
Same fucking plot. Blow up the Death Star. We get it.
Yeah, I mean, cyclic formula, man. Let's not break this. So, group of you kind of going to sneak up on the army. Roll me some stealth checks here. You guys are going to have advantage on this. You guys coming up from behind them. Dun, 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 dun. It's now our roll music when everyone goes silent to
Ooh, there's that 4.
quietly think about their rolls. Okay. There's that 4, is that?
Yeah.
4? Oh, there it
Double
is.
Is that with
fours.
advantage?
Yeah, that was double 4s.
Double fours.
Double fours, nice.
May the 4s be with you, Dave.
Ding, 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 ding.
Uh-huh.
That chat's about to blow the fuck up.
There
There it is.
It's a 2-second pause. It's coming.
22.
Drums in the deep. Yes. So you guys all pretty successfully sneak up behind him. Even though Ajax is screwing the pooch a little bit for the rest of you guys.
Yeah, he's a little too big for his horse.
Yeah.
You call it a diversion?
Yeah. Yeah, maybe in fact no one actually like straight up spots Ajax. The rest of you guys probably cover for him to the degree where like you see Ajax is about to like walk over the mound a little bit and you just kind of like pull him down. So you look upon a army of mercenaries camped out in a field. These are the Black Hounds, and these are Eddard's forces, which are marching, or previously Eddard's forces, who had been, it seems like, successfully taken over by Vin, Darian's forces over in the capital of Oswald and made their way here to Castle Rocke.
Do we spot the wagons that they have?
Yeah, you can see the wagons. The wagons do have, it looks like, equipment to build siege equipment, so they don't like trawl trebuchets with them, but they bring heavy axes and saws and the like to cut down trees and to forge it on on the campaign trail. So they look like they're ready for a fight. And these guys are kind of tough as nails as well. I mean, you did fight with several of them. They took a ton of shots before any of them went down. They are loyal, or they were loyal, it seems like, to your son. You see that most of them appear to be the Blackhounds.
Gotcha. Well, I think we should stick around and see if we can't spot Needles a bit, but we shouldn't stay too long.
Yeah.
This
I
is
see like a leader or a captain or like a tent that looks like a commander's tent or anything.
Give me some perception checks. You can definitely make a commander's tent. Yes.
Oh, yes, perception. I'm so good at that.
Big 10.
I got a 5.
A 1. I got a 1.
12. The leader, the freaking leader in the clubhouse. Like a massive 12.
You guys are like, wow, these guys are going about a leader? These guys are crazy. Like, they're like some kind of democracy. They're all just walking together to decide at the same time.
How many wagons are there?
Oh, they got like 20 wagons with them. Some you'd think to be supplies, some siege ready. But these guys have a reputation, right? The Blackhounds are known to be fierce campaigners. So the kind of reputation that they've never lost a fight. Partly because they don't get involved in fights that they can lose. But also...
It's a very important part of building a reputation.
I've got a plan.
You want to set the wagons afire?
I was thinking less obvious. What if I disassemble one wheel on each wagon so when they go to pull out, the wheel will fall off? I'll sabotage them.
You undo one screw from every single bit, and then they push it, and everything just falls apart.
How will you get in there?
I can disguise myself as one of them.
Yes. I was thinking of something similar, a delaying tactic of just seeing how many trees we could fell in their path that they would then have to clear and move out of the way. But if you could disable their wagons from here, we could keep them delayed for much longer.
Perhaps we could do both plans.
Don't see why not.
I did not expect the Blackhounds. Did you see that coming?
I pretty much thought that's who they were sending.
Yeah,
that was the only army the Fletchers had.
Yeah.
I did not expect them so easily indentured to Ven.
I believe probably already in the workings.
And they've probably told the Blackhounds that we took their leader as to inspire them to bloodlust against us.
Friends, you're being a bit obtuse. They planned to murder him at the party. They must have had a plan in place already.
Yeah, they're mercenaries. They will follow the highest, the person who pays them.
Are you ready to lay waste to such an army with the vampires? Perhaps we can sway them. We are an elite strike force, should the opportunity present itself.
Wyrme just pulls out his pockets, pulls them inside out.
Yeah, I don't have any gold either. I don't know how much they have at Castle Rocke, but...
Well, you know that the coffers were pretty full. Coda's wine definitely commands resources. Like, you don't have a number, but, like, this is, 6 figures maybe.
Gotcha. They could perhaps be bought off. Perhaps, especially if it's a difficult slog through the swamp, plagued by malfunctions and obstacles in their way. They might just get bored or frustrated.
You think?
Yeah, this whole enterprise is actually just a big tax write-off for Curtis wine.
Do you think we could separate one of the sheep from the herd?
Certainly, if we wait here long enough, one of them will go to take a piss.
Let them know their leader lives. might cause some dissent among this particular force. Might do as much slowing them down as any wagon sabotage or lumberjacking.
Definitely let Ajax roll me a history check.
Never underestimate the power of lumberjacking, my friend.
Lumberjacking.
Right.
Brokeback lumberjacking.
Beard, you wouldn't understand.
18 for Ajax.
Jack flat lumber.
That is by design, sir.
All right, an 18. So Ajax, like you've spent some time trying to communicate with your son, but you've probably done some over the years hearing of rumors about him as well, about this black hound that had been going around, and probably taken particular interest in these rumors. He has like a lieutenant, or he had a lieutenant at the very least, who they named Skipper, which is presumably some kind of reference to the fact that maybe they were pirates at one time.
Gotcha. And so we can see, do I see anything identifying like a personal banner or something outside the command tent of who
Yes.
might be operating it?
Yes, the command tent is definitely that of one of the Black Hounds. If Skipper is still in any way involved in this organization, it's likely his tent, you'd guess. Needles is she's a bit more low-key than the big tent in the middle of the group of men.
All right. So they have a leader. I don't see if Calium, if you want to try to capture one while Wyrme works his mischief, then perhaps that I don't feel comfortable sneaking around camp in broad daylight.
Sorry, stream, I was muted for that. I was trying to convince Wyrme to single somebody out.
Ah, yes, well, while I can appear like them, talking like them is another matter entirely.
Yes.
But perhaps we can figure something out.
I'll try and I guess we'll kind of like hang around the outskirts and wait to find someone that's on the outskirts but haven't really left camp.
Sure, like someone who's going to take a piss or something like that, and
I'll step out of the brush disguised as one of them.
Nice. Okay.
And just kind of do one of these and wave them over, and as I almost disconnect myself from the internet.
Dave goes dark.
The last thing you see is a modem, going by the screen.
I wasn't sure if it was just the fact that you were displacing air and the fan of air would just disrupt the Wi-Fi. Yeah, which is so very impressive.
Very powerful.
Yeah, Dave commands magnetic waves with his hands. It's like a fucking EMP. So yes, you totally just get this guy's attention. Big guy kind of looks over and he's like, "What's going on? What's going on?"
And I point into the brush, and that's when Calium will nab him.
Nice.
Let's do those things.
And then I'll just keep on walking into the camp.
Nab this man. So yes, you give him a good old nabbing.
Do I roll I get a +3 to nabbing.
Yeah, good. Well,
not to be confused.
No, oh god. So sorry. I apologize. His nabbage roll. Let's see. Let's have a nab off, as we call it over here in France.
What would you like, buddy?
Give me an athletics. It's like a grapple check, basically. And if you grapple him, you go Assassin's Creed mode on him.
Motherfucker.
So okay.
Do I get advantage on that since it was a planned thing?
Yeah, since it's planned.
How about that? Yeah. How about that? 15.
All right. You should buy your way out of that one. Yeah.
You only live once, Will Jones. You only live once, buddy.
Sometimes once is too many. So the you kind of like, you grab him, and he like, at first nothing happens, and then you dab, and he's like, oh, fine. And he goes into the bush. So you basically pull him into the bush. You can grab him for his uniform, do whatever you want of him, basically.
Sure. Yeah. We want to keep him alive because we want to talk to him a bit.
Okay. Yeah.
We're basically gonna get him back to Ajax and Elvadine.
Okay.
While Wyrme is doing Wyrme things.
He's worming around. Okay, so let's go with the interrogation squad. So everyone except from Wyrme, you pull this guy back to your little camp area, and he's kind of like coming around at this point. He's like, oh, "What's going on? Oh, fuck."
I think maybe Ajax will be behind him. We've got him bound, but he knows that this is where Elvadine shines.
Yes. So
he's just there to make sure that nothing goes wrong.
What is your name, sir?
Fine, I know how this goes. What is it that you want?
I want your name. That's why I asked for.
Well, my name is Evan.
Evan.
Right? Yes, and it's the one my father gave me, and it's the same one that his father gave him.
Well, at least they were creative. So, Evan, you are a member of the Black Hounds, yes? How long have you been with the Black Hounds?
It has been 72 weeks and 5 days.
At least you keep a good count. And are the Black Hounds, how do they feel about their former leader, Eddard?
He takes a deep sigh and he's like, well, the feeling isn't too good in the camp after his murder at the hands of his father.
Was he?
What?
Was he murdered?
Yes. Yes. In the capital city.
Huh. And what if I were to tell you that he is still alive? What if I were to tell you that it was a setup?
You see, like, his mind's trying to figure this out. He's like, are you the guy they called Pete?
I go by many names. Pete.
There was a guy in the camp. He's talking about a guy named Pete who saved them.
Yes. I have been known by this name. No. We saved Eddard. Who is it that commands the hounds now? There's still time, Evan. You could be a hero.
Skipper commands the Black Hounds.
Skipper? Yes. Eddard's right-hand man, yes.
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 This is weird. What's going on?
We're trying to save your group, your company, from being used.
You're not trying to kill me?
You were knocked out. You woke up. If I wanted to kill you, don't you think it would have already happened?
Right.
Yes.
Right. Yes.
Because you pose no threat right now.
Good. That's good. So what can I do you for, Mr. Pete?
Well, we just need some information. Are there any other people who are helping lead the hounds who hired you? Why are you out here?
I believe it was a man named Fletcher who hired us out here, seeking the murderer of our lost leader. There is a woman, she travels with us. She scares all of the men despite her age.
Rather young?
Yes.
A bit off, as it were?
Spiky. Yes. Spiky personality.
Yes. She is rather pointed with her commentary on certain things.
Yes, she has been the one that has led us up to this point, and, well, I don't think she has any intention of stopping there. She seems dead set on this man's death.
Right, of course.
And Castle Rocke is where we're headed for.
Oh, that we know, Evan. So if we were to bring all these threads together and look at the picture as a whole, your company is being used by these people. They were the ones that tried to kill Eddard.
Right.
To gain control of the hounds.
Whoa. Okay. That is a plot twist.
It is it not? We are trying to stop this. You could help us.
How can I help you, though?
We need this woman who speaks into Skipper's ear. We need to stop her.
Yeah, she's kind of crazy.
Does she have her own tent? Does she have her own place in the camp?
She stays off into the woods. Never sleeps in the camp. Eastwards of the camp, though, in the woods, the men say that she sleeps in the trees.
To the east, you say? That is good. You're doing well.
Good. Thank you, Pete.
And I'll look at everyone else. I'll look at Calium and Ajax and what else do we need from him?
Anyone care for a pumpkin seed, maybe?
I have sworn those off. Yes. They can be quite dangerous. Be careful now, Evan.
Ajax shakes his head at Elvadine.
Well, thank you, Evan. You have been very helpful.
I'm happy to help.
Yes. Calium, can you do something about him?
What? What do you mean?
Don't worry, we're not going to kill you.
You just want me to knock him out? Thunk?
Yeah.
Hold on, but
Give him
Ajax
another nothing.
probably would have done a little bit better.
Yeah.
Oh!
You give it another
You know-
nab, and he goes down.
After this, I'm going to bring back Rick rolling. I'm just saying.
Jeez, man.
I'm sure it'll be very popular.
You got so mad at me when I talked about surprise hamster, and yet Rickroll. Come on, that's like ancient history.
Not all heroes wear capes, Jim.
That's true.
It's very true, buddy.
Fighting the good fight. Keep Rick Astley relevant.
It's the one man on planet Earth.
So,
well, we know where she sleeps.
to the woods to the east. Well,
she is here.
At this point, Ajax's first priority is delaying them as long as we can, so that the force doesn't reach the castle. If we can take her out, that'd be great. But we'd have to 5 of us catch her alone.
Well,
I'd be willing to go
accomplish
with bait.
both tasks.
Catch me up, guys. I had to step out for the kiddo. Is she alone? Like when she's hanging out there typically? Is what he said.
She goes out to the woods to the east, and she sleeps away from the camp alone. They say she sleeps in the trees, and she terrifies everyone.
Wonderful.
And there is discord in the camp, so
let's kill this bitch.
I think 2 birds with 1 stone. If we can delay their advance and take her out, and if we let Evan back in with the rumors that Eddard is still alive, I think that will spread through the camp.
Worm's gonna be doing worm things, worming around. Let's take out Needles.
All right, let's go to Wyrme, who is indeed worming around.
The most important thing is the legend of Pete has grown.
Yeah.
This is the most important thing.
Yeah.
Pete is the MVP of this entire campaign so far.
It's
All right,
always my aliases.
It's always the same one. I have many aliases, but I always use Pete. All right, so so Wyrme, what are your intentions, sir, in camp?
Well, Wyrme is going to do. Wyrme is not only the bane of doors. Just let you know, he can do a real good number on wagon wheels as well.
I bet he can. Okay, so sneaking around camp and screwing up everyone's wagon wheel.
Yeah, like I want it to look fine until they go to move and it just like falls apart. Like he removes the hardware or whatever.
He removes that. Okay, yeah. Roll me a stealth check first of all.
Okay, so I am going to appear as one of them. I'm going to use disguise self. Will that give me any benefits?
Yeah, I'll give you advantage on this. No one seems to be looking at you. You know, you're just a guy on his wagon wheel. Where everyone looks at it, it's like, oh, it's just a guy spending an hour or so of his wagon wheel. Like that's totally normal. Got to give a man his time with his wagon wheel.
So 17 on the stealth.
17 is pretty damn good. You go around around a camp and basically everyone's wagon. This will probably delay them by a good few hours at the very least.
Yeah.
Like they're gonna have to put this back together, and they only move as fast as their slowest moving part. So you screw up their wagon wheels pretty successfully without anyone noticing, as far as you know. The camp is, of course, quite big. What else do you want to be doing whilst you're in it? The mood around the camp is quite dark. There is not much like merriment and drinking around. It seems like these guys are kind of... in fact, Wyrme, you could run me an insight check to see what these guys are like vibing in the camp.
Okay, so one of the things from wagon to wagon, Wyrme would
Yeah.
definitely be trying to pay attention and focus.
Yeah.
But the problem is for Wyrme is because he's very reptilian and they're very human. He has always had trouble understanding humans and reading them. A 6.
Yeah. Yeah. You don't know if they're all trying to mate with one another, or if they're all trying to eat, or if
Eat each other.
eat each other and mate with them at the same time, or they're very different in your culture.
Humans are weird.
Yeah, super weird. There's 0 eggs around, which is like the most confusing thing about it all.
It's very confusing in kobold culture. Like you see a kobold you like, and then you just like, and if they back at you the right way, you know it's on. With humans, they just look at each other, they talk, you don't know what's going on.
That's a beautiful insight into the rich lore of the kobolds in the world of Penumbra, which is solely written by Dave's shenanigans at this point.
It's canon. It's canon in Penumbra now. Enjoy that.
I love it.
Oh man, it's like I should never. You hit a guy, you wax, you're done. But with Benedict, so Wyrme basically has a while kind of looking around the camp, trying to figure out exactly what these guys are, but you can't really pick up too much of a pulse on the situation, other than they seem to be unhappy about something. What do you do after this probably is going to take an hour or so to like hitch all these wagon wheels up?
That's my main focus.
Okay.
He doesn't want to muck around too fast, and he does not want to be here any longer than he has to. Wyrme, despite all of his heroics throughout these adventures so far, is a coward at heart.
All right, so we can time this so that Wyrme can return in time to be back with the party to head on this like assassination mission into the woods to find and kill Needles. So Wyrme comes back to the camp just as Calium is knocking out this guy Evan and a group of you about to head off. He looks quite happy of himself.
Are you about to mate with him?
What? No, Wyrme. We've discussed this many times.
Evan shrugs.
Camp, it seems very, very depressed and odd, and I don't know what the humans are about.
Evan tells us that the mood of the camp is pretty conflicted because of their perceived loss of Eddard. But as I told him, Eddard is alive.
Ah, yes, alive.
Just look back and forth. Yep.
Awkwardly between ages.
Yep, still alive. Had breakfast with him this morning.
Must be true.
Almost became his breakfast this morning.
And
But we did.
Needles sleeps to the east of here in the woods.
Yeah, what time of day is it, by the way?
It's getting dark. So this is your second day. They're a day away from, a day's march away from the castle at this point.
Yeah.
So it's a bit of a now or never kind of moment because you're not going to get her alone.
Yeah, I think that.
Oh, it's a now moment.
I think we should loop around the back of the, sort of double back around the camp, and then come on the east side.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
And then, I don't mind being bait. If like y'all want to be further east, and then I just sort of am in the woods.
Yes.
Pretending to scout poorly.
Pretending to scout poorly. I'm an infantryman on a horse. Of course, it would be poor. And then
Very nice horses.
I appreciate your
superb.
tenacity,
beautiful beasts.
Ajax, but I think it's a terrible plan.
Oh,
I cannot miswalk that far.
Well, I do not think we're going to catch her by surprise like that. That one is cunning. You would make a fine kobold.
then how do we draw her out?
My impression is she will be itching for a fight. She does not seem one to shy away from violence, and she is very confident in her abilities. I do not think she's afraid of us.
And we
Perhaps we should be at least a little afraid of her.
And we did wound her in our last exchange at the hospital.
It's true.
I'm sure she will be very upset and will be seeking vengeance.
So
We
you
might
think
have a chance to catch her thinking unclearly. Well, even more so.
even more so? So you think marching in the open, where she might find us, seek us out?
I think almost like a full frontal assault.
Overwhelm her.
Does anybody here have any type of a short sword on them?
I'm sure.
Anybody have a short sword on them at all?
I mean, you
At
can
all?
have one if it's necessary.
An extra. I would like an extra because what I'd like to do is I'd like to take my short sword, and I'd like to hand it over to Ajax.
Maybe Evan has one.
Just attach it to the horse or something like that. Perhaps she'll think that I bled out, and that you carry this in some form of symbolic meaning. If she sees the three of you and not me, we don't want to arouse her suspicion. And then if there's like a tree or anything like that, I'll just miswalk up to the tree.
Okay. Absolutely.
And then that way,
So you'll be in hiding, the ace in the hole.
hopefully I'll be moving between the trees without rustling a single branch. That'd be perfect. Draw her attention to you guys. There's my sword. Maybe I bled out. Maybe I don't want it. Maybe I gave up. Maybe she tortured me forever. You're the ones that burned her up.
So, I say we do both plans. We know she is cunning, so Ajax being bait is obvious. Wyrme and I will be in support nearby. She will obviously see us, but you are our ace in the hole, as it were. So when she sees the trap for what it is, and we spring into action, you can then close the real trap.
Yes, I think that is a much better plan for this one.
I'm just gonna push that bitch out of the tree. That's what's about to happen.
She dies undramatically in her sleep.
We just sneak up on her and stab her.
Roll her off
That's
the
it.
tree. Ajax is like, thunk. All right, guys. Good job,
go.
chaps.
We
And
get
we're
down
done.
to the ground, and it turns out it's Ajax's daughter in Needle's clothes.
I just didn't even know he had a kid. Daughter.
No, Calium's daughter didn't actually die.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah. Sorry.
All right, let's do this.
Okay.
All right.
So I'll have the sword draped over prominently.
Okay. Okay. Walk me through this plan, just step by step, how you guys see this playing out in your mind's eye, and this perfect vision of how this works.
Because that's
Kalium's
how
up
it's
in a
gonna work.
Because
Terribly.
They're gonna approach the encampment on horses, and they're gonna
Yes.
pretend to be scouting poorly.
Cool.
Hopefully, she will
Should be
see
out.
them. She'll, if for any reason she does not see me there, she'll see my sword. Think whatever reason, she'll be infuriated because she got burned up. Meanwhile, Elf Eyes hopping between the trees.
Wait a minute. I heard a completely different plan.
Okay. That's
What?
fine.
I heard the plan that we are scouting poorly, but we're actually Jim is scouting poorly. Ajax is
Yeah.
scouting poorly, while Wyrme and Elle are hidden, in ambush, suspecting that we're going to actually be seen, and she's going to realize it's a trap.
That she's
And
too
then-
smart for that.
She's too smart for that. But the real trap is Calium is hiding in the second wave of the trap.
I get it. You're talking about being like an extra 40 feet behind Jim than I was talking about. We're on the same page. Let's agree.
Yeah.
Like, let's do it.
So Jim is on horseback, and maybe Wyrme and I are not.
And I'm gonna push that bitch out of the tree.
We're
And
like
then-
off to the side in the
And then
brush.
Calium's up in the trees.
Yeah.
Got it.
Calium.
Perfect. This will go well. So, first phase of the plan is initiated. Calium is in a tree, and Ajax is up ahead. You guys are a bit behind him, correct?
Correct.
Okay. So, you head towards the eastern side of the encampment, where presumably your quarry lies this night. And it does get very dark once you're within the forest as well, because not only have you lost sunlight, but the best of times anyway, the forest obscures any moonlight coming through. So you're in next to total darkness. I mean, you can see a little way ahead of you unless you want any kind of torch. But of course, I guess Ajax, pretending to be a scout, probably wouldn't just have a torch going around this eastern side of the forest. And Pruitt and Dave, you guys are trying to go hidden.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
You guys and Calium can roll me a stealth check.
Although I almost feel like we shouldn't roll the stealth checks because we kind of want to be seen, right? Is that the idea?
Yeah, we're trying to appear hidden, but yeah, we're not really
Maybe a
being
deception
sneaky.
check.
Yeah.
Performance check would work in this case, I suppose. Like because
That's
yeah,
fine.
Since I'm purely mistwalking, would that be advantage?
I mean, you're
You don't
not
have-
trying to do the same thing as they are, right? So you'd actually need to roll this, Cody.
All right.
I got a 6 on my performance, so I'm literally like taking big steps.
Yeah.
This.
23.
You're doing the
one.
Pink Panther.
Yeah.
It's-
I got a 17 on my
Okay.
performance.
You say, do you need me to make a performance roll as well for Ajax?
Sure, why not? Let's have some
All
fun.
right.
Definitely
Let's
had
see.
performance checks before.
8.
Eh.
Yeah, he's like,
Hey guys, the best conspiracy we've seen all season is that Needles is really Pag and that we're all still stuck in the illusion manor. It's pretty fucking good.
All
At
agree.
the best is at the end of the season. Will rips off his face and it's Andrew.
Needles is. Oh god.
I never took a break. Yeah. No, what actually happens is I pull off my face and I'm actually Jim, and then Jim takes off his face and it's actually me.
yeah.
And
We did a whole
we've been-
switching places.
We did whole switcheroo, whole life change.
Oh my god.
Mission Impossible.
And then underneath that, no. So yes, the group of you are kind of working your way through this forest. Ajax scouting ahead, and two of you guys hidden behind, Calium up in the trees, sifting your way through this dark forest. You come across a grove, I guess you would call it, a place where the thickets and trees are. Let me ask you this, guys: have you ever seen me and Jim in the same room? Exactly.
Never.
But you come to a grove where there's just one large tree in the center, and there are no other thickets or bushes around it, and it looks pretty kind of quiet in here. The tree itself is pretty huge. This is one of the biggest kind of oak trees that you guys would see. Pretty sprawling, pretty easily climbable up as well. And there is a big hole in the tree, which opens up into darkness, basically. It looks like some of this tree might be hollowed out.
Right.
Wow, this is where the plan goes to fuck. I just want to throw alchemist fire in that hole.
Yeah, I would like to nuke that tree from orbit, please.
Only we can prevent forest fires.
I think Ajax will sort of skirt the edge. Like you said, there's like an opening, like a glade of some kind. Did I hear that right?
Yeah, basically a glade, a grove.
Right. So he's gonna kind of like skirt the edge of it, but he's not trying to be. He's not trying to be stealthy, but trying to look like he's keeping to the shadows, and just observe for a minute, see what happens.
Okay, roll me a perception check.
Oh joy! Where is my perception check? Oh, there it is.
Boy!
Oh my goodness! Hey,
God.
There's that dirty 4.
Oh, that's
dirty
my
four.
Saving my luckies for later.
best kind of 4 is a dirty 4.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What'd you call me?
You. Oh man, it's gonna stick. Yeah, it's a thing now. Ajax looks around and he doesn't spot any movement coming from the tree or anywhere around the grove. Maybe you hear a little parting of air and you kind of look up and you realize it's Calium who's up in the trees.
Mm-hmm.
But you don't spot anything in there. It is pretty damn quiet.
Okay. He'll wait another 20 seconds or so, and then continue on his walk around the perimeter of the grove there.
Seems clear. I mean, there's no one hiding in bushes as far as you can tell, and there's no snares or traps laid that trip you up as you go around the circle.
How far away from the camp are we with the mercenaries?
Oh, a 5-minute walk, so
Okay.
out of immediate earshot.
Gotcha. I'm gonna try see what happens if I walk through the clearing.
Okay. You kind of step out into the grove itself, taking a step into the kind of grass here. Nothing immediately happens. You take you're a step closer to the tree than you were before, and a kind of big hole which is on one side of it. Even if you've seen a really old gnarled tree, and some of the times they just have these big kind of holes in them. It's basically what you're looking at there. It does look like the kind of place that people could sleep. You can't see inside, but this isn't uncommon if you were in a storm that you might shelter in somewhere like this.
Okay.
Looking at the tree as well, it's like it's been struck by lightning fairly recently.
Okay.
So it's burnt and blackened at the top.
I'll keep making my way towards the tree and see if that doesn't provoke anything. If I get close enough to see inside, I might try, but I'd like to keep about at least 5 feet between me and the tree.
Okay. You and the tree become more intimately acquainted as you step in. Nothing immediately happens.
From the outside of the grove, Wyrme definitely produces alchemist fire that he plans on throwing over Ajax's shoulder into that hole to help him see.
Definitely helps with vision problems.
I think so.
It's a very cheap solution to any kind of pair of glasses. Just throw fire on whatever you're trying to look at.
Mm-hmm.
Really illuminates it.
So that is an 18 to lob a vial of alchemist fire through the hole.
So Wyrme is straight up doing that.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
GG.
All right, game over, boys. We did it, and that's a wrap for tonight.
Oh, nice.
You totally lob this vial of acid inside, and it just begins to, burn up basically. From the center of the hole, the tree just begins to burn from the inside. Ajax, this potion just goes right over your shoulder.
Jeez. And looking in, there's nothing in there.
You can't see anything in there now. I mean, contrary to my previous statement, sometimes fire obscures.
Sometimes does. Sure.
The smoke starts to come out from it. Like there was more in there, but you don't hear like a immediate scream or someone burning to death in there.
Gotcha. So I'm gonna back out towards the perimeter again, towards like the shadows of the trees. Either she's not here, or the hunters have become the hunted.
Dun, dun, dun.
Yeah, but Ajax is gonna assume that she's observing him and try to make it back towards some kind of cover.
Absolutely, you can do that. Ajax makes his nervous approach up to the tree. The fire is thrown. The tree begins to burn up from the inside. Ajax takes a step back into the bushes of the clearing. You can wait 5 minutes, and this fire will probably just burn itself out.
Okay.
Fire's burn itself out. Much of the tree is blackened. You can look back into the hole, and you could probably get yourself inside there if you wanted to take a real look.
Maybe somebody who can see in the dark should go.
So Wyrme will come forward and inches away.
I thought it would be a good plan. Psychological warfare. We just hit her with fire before.
I think it's a good plan if we can find her, yes.
And Wyrme will go poke his head in, pull out his thunder cannon, and poke his head in the hole.
Psychological.
Wyrme's body falls away headless.
You've clearly never played Tomb of Horrors before.
Yes, you stick your head in, and you look down into this tree, and you could go up into this tree, or you could go down further down into this tree. It looks like it's about big enough for a child or a small person to fit down. So someone like Wyrme, you could fit down this little tunnel area here, but if you were bigger, you wouldn't be able to get down it. So Ajax, Vadin, Calium would have trouble just physically fitting their bodies through this smaller hole.
Ain't happening.
There's a space down there. Let me see what's in there.
And he'll go in.
Be wary, Wyrme.
Wyrme goes down on his own?
Oh yeah, absolutely. 8 wisdom.
Okay, you guys will lose sight of Wyrme
Wyrme.
as he does go down.
And El's going to go ahead and cast light on a pendant around his neck.
Okay. So you light up the area. Wyrme, as you head down into this space, you find yourself in what must be the innermost root system of this tree. It's like you've come right down into the base of this ancient old oak, which has buried itself deep into the ground. And there are actually some lights down here as well. Some small candles flicker and burn down here. A lot of candles, actually. And as you hit down, first thing you can do is roll me a dexterity saving throw.
That'd be a 12.
Excellent. So, Wyrme, a couple of things happen to you. First thing that happens is a silence spell goes off, so no sound emits from Wyrme whatsoever. As he basically just comes down to the spot, sets himself down, and all sound goes out completely from the scene. At the same time, Wyrme feels his legs being swept up from underneath him, as a snare basically pulls him up into a trap. Quite a simple, rope trap, basically, that when stood upon kind of snares you up and you're sent flying up to the ceiling. And at the same time as well, a jagged root. Been pricked by like a thorn on a rose or something like that, but imagine that about the size of your fist, like punches through his chest. And let's roll some dice. Do four of those bad boys. Takes 28 points of damage as this root basically just like pushes itself forwards on this mechanized device. Wyrme is incapacitated and upside down. His thunder cannon, which is in his hands, is like trapped up and all mangled in this rope thing at the moment. And there's no sound coming from him whatsoever. So like you guys are like, can't hear anything down there. As Wyrme struggles and writhes.
Can we? And he didn't bring any light source or anything down there with him, did he?
No, Wyrme sees in the dark perfectly. Yeah. So he goes down, and you guys are kind of looking into this hole of darkness. And no sound is coming up from there. You don't see any, lights from there either.
Mm-hmm. Well, all is quiet. Things must be just fine.
Huh. Ajax looks around and is going to turn back around and look at the rest of the trees, see if there's anybody watching us or looking or something like that.
Probably a perception check, yeah.
All right.
I kind of feel like I'd be scanning. Like
sure, yeah,
as soon as the fire went off, I'm like looking up in the tree specifically.
Yeah.
Got dirty 20 for my perception there.
Oh, that's gonna be better than mine, no doubt. Oh, 19.
Oh, there.
Nice.
There you go.
Since everyone else is.
Why not? Join in the fun. Be part of the team.
9.
Oh. So, none of you spot any movement in the trees around here. No one is like sneaking up on you. It doesn't seem like a snare is about to kind of wrap its way around you. Looking back down to where Wyrme is upside down, as he's silenced and trapped, thing like gets him through the heart, basically, or near the heart. Eventually you can wriggle free, Wyrme. I mean, this is a rope trap, and he does have a thunder cannon. So silently, basically kind of like blows himself out, I'd imagine, of this trap, probably sending himself propelling up into the ceiling of the force of the thunder cannon once he's upside down. And
Wyrme comes out of the hole missing a foot.
Just build a new one.
We can rebuild him.
Make him stronger.
We have the technology. As you blast yourself down from this root system, you see this little bench basically down here of some carved wood, and there is a note on the table. There is a needle through the note.
We'll make his way over to the note. Is the silence spell still in effect?
The silence spell will dissipate, yeah.
All right. Well, he's going to quickly drop a Cure Wounds on himself as he reads the note.
I was Evan.
I was Evan all along.
And I fucking ate Pete.
Pete, yes. So pulls back the mask. It's Pete all along. No, you open up this note, and in a childlike hand, very similar to the one in which you have the diary of, which you know it belongs to, there is a little note that says, "Killing you would be way too easy, almost boring. Ask Calium what I like to do, and then ask Ajax what I'm going to do. See you there."
Well, I guess I'll make my way back up with the note.
Right.
Yep. Come back up. You see a note appear and then a worm.
I suspect she knew we were coming.
Suspect as well. I bet she's made her way to the castle. She can travel fast, infiltrate it.
And I think I know what our target is.
Yeah? What's that?
Your son. She likes to punish people.
She does like to punish people.
Then, according to that note, it seems like she's going to want to punish you.
Very well.
I'm gonna come down out of the tree.
Okay.
Walk over to Wyrme, kind of like ask to see the note. And after reading it, I'm just gonna kind of crumple it up and throw it on the ground. And well, if it's a game of hide and seek she's after, perhaps we can give her reason to seek us out. Really, what if we take her precious little Vin from her now? Ajax, your son is dead or alive, or forgive me, whatever condition he's in. There's nothing we can do for him. If she's truly out hunting, it's up to Curtis. But we have an army here, a small force that we could decimate by removing Vin.
There's one thing. The note leads me to believe that she wishes to play with Ajax and toy with him next. And that leads me to believe it's Eddard. But as far as she knows, Eddard is dead.
As far as she knows, he's dead.
Yes.
Could be something else entirely, or perhaps...
Or worse yet, she knows he lives. In which case... How?
Mole or magics?
There's no way that Curtis wouldn't have defended the fortress. What do you say, El?
Well, the detection of magic and its forces is not one of my strong suits, unfortunately. I do know that they possess some magical ability. Whether or not they can defend against those that would use magic to spy, I cannot say.
She knew Curtis was a vampire, specifically Curtis. We now have reason to believe that she knows that Ajax's son, Eddard, lives.
She
probably best to assume she knows everything.
Then let's not play her game. We're playing catch-up with her. That's a fool's errand.
5 against 200 is... I don't like those odds, Calium. What do you suggest we do? Wait for them to go to sleep and then set fires in their camp?
Can we lure them out? Can we go in disguised? You've disguised us before, Wyrme.
Lead out Skipper?
I assume Skipper is Vin.
I would have to wait to do that.
I thought we killed Vin back at the Fletchers. Split him in half.
Yeah, Ajax got him pretty good back there.
Yeah, Skipper was Eddard's right-hand man.
That's leading the Black Hounds.
Yeah, and he's leading them now.
Are you
Well, Calium was dead for all of that, remember?
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
are you so certain that Skipper isn't a willing participant? Perhaps it was a power grab for him.
Perhaps so. Remove Eddard, take command of the Black Hounds, and profit the coin for himself. I'm not above a little sabotage at night, setting fires in the camp, making life difficult for these mercenaries. Perhaps, especially if you're worried about racing back to the castle into one of her traps. Does anyone have a way to get word back to Curtis quickly? No.
I mean, to get back to the castle is like a half day's ride at this point, you know.
Yeah.
If you were to really push it, perhaps you could do it even faster.
Okay.
I'm not interested in playing her games.
Well, you know,
If she's in front of us, if she thinks she can predict us, let's be unpredictable. Let's make a move that she doesn't think we'll make. If she thinks we'll head back to the castle, let's make our move here now.
Your suggestion is to attack the mercenaries while they sleep.
It is.
If we waited for them to fully settle in for the evening, we might stand a chance if we could sneak into the command tent.
I
You think
feel
you could
like
get us in there, Wyrme?
Shadows for other people. Like
Is that
the wizards wanted to send us against the 100. The vampires want us to kill the 100. We want us to kill the 100, but we seem to be doing everything but killing the 100.
so? You think that our plan should be to make a break for the capital, sneak into the city?
I don't know. I just feel like all we do is chase our tails like whelplings.
Like whelplings. Racing back to the capital is an unexpected move. Unexpected to everyone, perhaps, including our allies. How would we get into the city?
Are they really our allies? That has always been the question. I feel like no matter who we've allied with, you three are the only ones I've come to truly trust.
Yes.
See, how would we get into the city then?
I do not think that would be too much of a problem. We've gotten in before, and we've gotten out.
Yeah. So we leave the Blackhounds here. Their wagons are disabled. It will take them some time in the morning to get moving. As far as we know, they don't know that we're here. We could take the horses and break for the capital as quickly as possible. We would be betraying the vampires as well, though, I think, making more enemies.
Well, we've delayed the wagons. It's going to take them longer to get there. They've listened to the wise words of Pete, as far as I know. Descent has also been sorted that way. And at the castle, Eddard is still there. The Blackhounds can see him.
True enough. Perhaps it's a risk we have to take.
We would just be killing people that we had no intent to fight.
Yeah. Ajax is getting a little antsy. We wouldn't be able to make it back to the castle in time. I don't think we'd have to ride all night, and that's treacherous through the swamp. I do like Calium's suggestion of being unpredictable and not doing what they think we'll do, or walking into one of her traps.
Then perhaps we should think like a kobold.
Perhaps we should think like a kobold.
Session title.
That was hashtag Brokeback Vampires.
I think like you're right. Like getting back to the capital where most of the 100 are is a true objective, and certainly not what we said we were going to do for any of the groups that we talked about. So,
and for the first time, we might have the option to do what we want to do, which is hunt the 100 and not feel obligated. We've been obligated from the jump. This is a chance to do whatever we want to do.
And I feel like we've effectively put 3 obstacles in the path of the Blackhounds.
Right.
For when they get to Castle Rocke.
right.
And now we've given Curtis more than enough to work with.
Yeah. Oh, that was fun.
I'm fine with it.
Mm-hmm.
We should make haste, travel as much in the evening as we can. And hopefully we won't run into a secondary relief force on the way to the capital.
Let's do it.
I love it when my players say things like that, Jim. Just in case I didn't think about it as the DM.
A secondary relief
It's always
force.
about just
Rock
Yeah,
and
these-
hard place.
These
Yeah,
guys,
someone just
Giving-
messaged.
it's about giving yourself enough rope for the DM to hang you with.
mm-hmm.
How do you spell relief?
R-E-I-E.
ROLAID.
Thanks, man.
Pruitt's over here like, man, y'all are fools.
So, what's your plan for getting in the city, Wyrme?
We could sneak over one of the walls. We could use disguises on 3 of us.
How far out are we? I'm so sorry.
I was just going to say, there's always the sewers.
There's always the sewers. That would be my suggestion: is getting in through the through a sewer grate somewhere.
Will, what's the travel time to the capital, roughly?
You could get there in a couple of days.
Wow, so we're not far.
Not too far.
All right, so when we lost our war, was there any allies or anybody left that we think we might be able to rally to our cause? Remaining?
So like, there are still thieves in the city of Ostwald who, like, similarly to Wyrme, have these sort of, you know, slightly morally ambiguous, happy to trade either side, and that were considered more loyalist to you guys than they were to the Emperor, kind of like sticking it to the man kind of thing. So like, there are totally bands of, like, you know, low-level thugs and thieves, basically gangsters in Ostwald. So if you guys have watched like Peaky Blinders, like, these are the kind of gangs that would be active in Ostwald. Thugs, gang violence, probably gamblers and racketeers, that kind of thing. So yeah, if you were to have a contact, Wyrme is a likely kind of person to know. Although any of you might be familiar with the fact that there are just like guys around there who would still probably be interested in working with you guys.
Yeah, I think that's the smart play. Let's go grab somebody that can help us.
Yeah. All right.
And it's on the way, I'm assuming, to the capital.
So these guys mostly work within the capital city, so you'd be getting in. But you could make contact with them outside the city and arrange a meeting. So there is a like a halfway house, which is a home place for like these guys to meet outside of the city itself. And this is the crossroad inn before you get to Ostwald, basically. And that is the kind of place that you're going to run into the people who could get you into the city and would be willing to trade. So like the Tortuga of bars, essentially.
Nice. Let's make haste.
Yeah, I agree. Let's
Keep
do
off
it.
the roads as much as possible.
Very cool.
We'll let you lead, Ajax.
All right.
Give me a last survival check.
Let's see if this becomes a disaster or not. Yeah, hopefully not. 18.
Damn fine work from Ajax again.
Very good. He knows his way around a swamp, you see.
Get out of my swamp, says Ajax. And there is this halfway house that opens up before you, like the day before you get to the city of Ostwald, across the road ends, and it is indeed on this basically big crossroads where all travelers come and go from Ostwald. The barkeep there is a venerable woman named Rosie who takes no nonsense whatsoever, and also has gangland connections as well within the city. Hence why she owns this place, and hence why no one gives her any shit. Because anyone to bust up this place or get into too much trouble with Rosie, then the boys come knocking and come taking down your house, kind of deal. So as you enter this pretty busy bar, there are figures of all characters around here. Those sitting mysteriously in corners, the striders of the scene, you know, smoking their pipes and their jackets and hoods. And then there are the more regular guys who are almost definitely, everyone here is connected to some kind of gang. Everyone here has probably got some kind of underworld connection. It may be that they are just friends of friends. They may just be aware that the gang is there and they pay them money to be here. Or they may be, you know, just thugs that are here to look after the place. You guys will know that, like, you're talking to the infantry right here. Anyone would meet in back rooms. So this is what you kind of walk into. And Rosie kind of looks over as the group you walk in, and says, welcome, travelers, to the Crossroad Inn.
Yes, greetings.
She says, "Fine faces you got there. Memorable as well, but we don't ask no questions around here. Understood?"
Understood. We're looking
Excellent,
for
Rosie. That's why we always come back.
looking for someone who can be as discreet as you.
What are you looking for?
Way into the capital and shelter while we're there.
Strikes me as though your throat is parched there, friend.
Been a long journey here.
She like pours an ale and looks expectantly for the coin to find itself on the table.
Yeah, he'll pay. Ajax will pay triple, and keep him coming. And there'll be more for you later.
Yeah, she says, "I know you're good for your money. Why don't you take a seat in the back room there?" She kind of gestures over towards this room where there's two kind of big guys standing over it.
Yeah. And then like Ajax will lean in and whisper to Wyrme, how many of these ruffians do you know?
Well, these fine gentlemen here.
Wyrme will take a look around and like flick his tongue out to kind of taste the air a little bit.
Go ahead. Roll me like a perception check around here.
Ooh, I'm so good at those.
Come on, buddy. Come on, buddy.
Come on, come on. No whammies. Yeah, baby. Halfling one, natural one.
Beautiful.
You know absolutely no one in this bar, and yet everyone is looking at you like you owe them money.
Humans, you all look so alike to me. I can't help it.
You've like totally forgotten all of your debtors.
We never paid him back because he couldn't find him.
Exactly.
He just randomly pays back random humans.
Totally forgot who you guys were there. So the worst. As you head out of the cantina bar into the back room, a man tries to sell you death sticks, and then he rethinks his life.
Oh.
But as you enter into the dark room, there is a table there, which is already set and laid. There are drinks on there, it's whiskey, and there are 4 seats at the table, and 4 seats opposite the table as well. And there's no one else in here with you at the moment. It's just you guys, and it's kind of like pretty dingy back room. The drinks are waiting for you guys, though.
All right.
Slink on over.
Is there a way? So, who's going to do the talking?
And just kind of look over at Elle. Probably the most trustworthy one.
Well, I appreciate your vote of confidence, Calium. Yes, I can do the talking. We just want room and board. For how long? How long do we plan on staying here? Doing this deed?
No more than the night. Need to stay in front of needles.
Okay. How much do we want to divulge to them?
I think all they need to know is that we need a safe place to hold up in the city.
And a guide through the sewers, or whatever way there is.
Or whatever way there is. And no questions asked. We'll do our best to not bring any attention to ourselves or where we're staying.
All right.
So what do we have to give them?
Well, I was hoping that One of you had a offering for them. You seem to have some sort of trick or bauble to give them.
Well, if we do what we came here to do, it will invite chaos into the city, and those with the mind for business can find their way earning a profit in such times, can they not?
I should think so.
Not to mention we have 4 very fine horses that one particular vampire will be missing shortly.
He'll never forgive me.
I reckon he might.
I may have something. It is precious to me, but valuable.
Oh?
Stuff my helm. It's more like a skull cap, and kind of like begin caressing it.
It is enchanted. It is one of the things I've made. It would fetch quite the price to the right person, or it allows one to read languages in an arcane script, so they might find it useful.
We'll see.
Indeed, it should fetch a fine price. Thank you, Wyrme, for offering.
Our need is great.
But I'm sure
Yes.
they know who we are, based
They
on the
seem to.
looks they were giving us. So,
Or at least they know Wyrme.
So at this point, the door to the other side of the table kind of swings on open. A guy walks in a leather duster, takes off his hat, sets it down on the table. He's got a pencil-thin mustache. He's about 5'11", has a cigar in one mouth, which he kind of like sets down onto the table, grabs up the whiskey, downs it on one, places it down. 2 other guys of a similar stature, also human, come in behind him as well. They quite openly carry swords on their hips, and they close the door behind them as they come in. Guy looks down after he's finished his whiskey. Right. So, what the fuck are you doing here? All of you, back in my fucking pub, after you fucking gone all over the fucking country, screwing up everything for everyone. So I guess if I were to boil it down into one finite question, it would be, what the fuck?
it is the question that the philosophers have been asking for quite a while, yes. Well, we are here because we need back in the city, and you control the means to do this in a inconspicuous way.
Right. So what I'm hearing is you need something from me.
That's one way to interpret it, yes.
And yous are all the most wanted fucking people to ever have walked this fine earth of ours. Is that correct? Right. Just trying to get things straight in my mind, you see, because what you're asking me sounds fucking ridiculous. To just stroll on into my pub. Especially you, Wyrme. You owe a lot of money around here.
So,
A lot of money.
What about old times? And once we finished up this thing, I will be able to pay everyone back.
It's what they all fucking say. It's what they all fucking say. Yeah, but you owe some very powerful friends of mine a lot of money as well. And were I to tell them that you was back in town, well, they wouldn't be too friendly.
wouldn't want to upset old friends then, would we?
Exactly. Nothing worse than an old friend when you meet them again and you upset them, and then all the fucking relationship you had before with them, those years of built up trust, just fucking gone, isn't it? So that's why I am feeling a little bit upset right now. So you'll forgive my fucking language.
It's quite all right. Ajax is a prolific swearer, so we are accustomed. So I take it that it would take quite a high price for you to even consider assisting us then.
Well, I've heard about your fancy cap, yeah? And that sounds all fucking nice and well and good and whatnot. But at the end of the day, when I think about it, when what I've given you is free access into my city, the most wanted people in all of the world, and you have given me a fucking cap in return for that. Doesn't seem very fair now, does it? And that again leads to that trust just deteriorating downwards until it hits that rock bottom point at which I fucking eviscerate all of you into a very messy pile of organs on my floor.
Do you have any enemies?
Enemies? Mate, I've got enemies. I've got more enemies than you've had enemies. Yeah?
Right. Who are they, pray tell? Anyone in the city?
Yeah, I got a lot of friends of mine who aren't so much friends of mine, if that makes sense. Other gangsters, I suppose you could call them, men of ill repute, who also run fine bar establishments such as myself around the town. Also, fuck the knights. Fuck 'em.
Yeah, our aim is to cause as much havoc as we can. The 100 need to be brought low, and as many knights that are with them will go down as well. Perhaps what we can pay you isn't so much coin or in kind, but in opportunity to expand your empire, to expand your reach, and to have an opportunity to take out some of your rivals.
Because you claim this is your city, but is it really your city if you hide in a tavern outside of it? Shouldn't you be up on the battlements? Shouldn't you be the one in charge? Wouldn't it be better if you were the one calling the shots instead of cowering from knights and from your friends?
Probably a persuasion check.
I knew I should have gone with that over deception. Fuck.
Yes.
That was a good speech, too.
Oh my god. It was a good speech. But he gets really stuck up on that point about him hiding. And he's like, hiding, mate? Do I look like I'm fucking hiding right now? No, mate, I'm just fucking waiting. Okay? And when I say I run the fucking city, I mean I fucking run the city. So that, again, has led to another step of degradation to my trust level in you, which already was waning to this very small point, about this size big, and now it's more like this. And so I have a very right mind to get my friends here to kill you for coming in here and being so rude to me, quite frankly. You've been rude to me, haven't you?
I see your point. We would not want this to come to bloodshed.
Exactly. I would hate to fucking have to redecorate this whole place. Do you know how long it took to get those fucking rugs in? They're fucking imported, mate.
Yes, they really tie the room together.
Thank you. And that they do not go well with the color red. It would clash with everything, actually, and I would really dislike having to redo it. So you get my point here. So why don't you fucking offer me something a bit more than empty promises about chaos and havoc in my fucking city?
We have some fine horses.
I've already taken your horses.
I did not want to have to do this.
It's part of your debt to me. Very nice horses they were too.
I did not want to have to do this, but I understand the way things are. So I penned several letters before coming here, saying that I was coming here to see my good friend, who I've been acquainted with for a very long time. I've left said letters with some trusted associates if anything were to happen or we do not resurface in a timely fashion, those notes, those messages will go out.
Roll me an intimidation check.
Son of a bitch, I was hoping for deception.
Trying to strong arm him there.
Yeah, you're right. Oh, I am proficient in that.
Nice.
Probably gonna roll a 2, but you know, hey. Oh, I got a.
Ah,
Nice. That's pretty good. You
it's a good plus there, buddy.
you see him like he looks at you for a long time, and he's like staring at you as like death stare, and he's like, "Nah, Wyrme, still got it, still a very good friend of mine, Wyrme. Did I mention our friendship, how important it was to me, our relationship, and how it had not deteriorated or degraded in any way, the actions which you had done to me? So, how about your old friend Salvador lends you a hand in the city, gets you in there, and maybe in return, top of the horses, yeah, give me that fucking cap, and it's a nice cap, that is. And also, maybe find some good Lord, that man's,
We got dog issues. We're not worried about it.
that man's whole background of where he lives has just been destroyed out for him. That was fucking marvelous. That was.
He'll pay the damages to your bar.
Yeah, well, you fucking better, because I spent ages putting that fucking blue-green screen up, yeah, and it doesn't chroma easy, all right? So,
No, it doesn't.
and it really doesn't go well with the red, so if I don't want blood all over it, all right? So let's fucking put it back up again. Come on then. There you go. Put it back up. Yes, like that. He's almost got it, fucking hell. Making it difficult, isn't he? How fucking hard is it to put up my furniture?
Hold on, here we go. Wait. I don't give a
Almost.
shit.
Well, it's my fucking furniture, mate, so I care. All right, that'll do. Now, what was I saying here? Throw in
Us good friends.
Yes, good friends. That's right. Now, I've got a man, yeah, on the inside who can help you out. He's a bit of a fixer, bit of a bloke. You know what I mean? He can help you out.
Excellent.
Good. All right, then consider ourselves friends once again, Wyrme, with old Salvador. And he spits on his hand and extends it towards you.
Oh, I don't know that lizards can like spit, so he just licks his hand.
Except I can't spit, so I just make the sound like this. Tuh, tuh.
And he says, all right, bring him in. And from behind you, look, two guys open the doors, and a mysterious figure walks in. And that's where we're going to wrap up tonight's episode.
Ta-da!
Ta-da! Because next
We have to
week,
kill
we've
this
got
guy,
a
too.
special guest joining us.
Special mystery guest.
Special mystery guest. He's
That's
gonna take
right.
a question.
Looks like you guys will have to tune in, see who it is. Will Jones,
Thank you, my friend.
you D&D sex icon, every week, so impressive. I had a blast tonight, boys, and I want to tell you guys watching, thank you so very much for joining us. Of course, we've got to give a huge shout out to all of our sponsors. Fantasy Grounds, our virtual tabletop. All of the maps on the show are made in Dungeon Painter Studio. I got some videos up on my my YouTube page about Dungeon Painter. It's a great piece of software. Highly recommend it. Of course, ThinkGeek is a big sponsor here, so do your last-minute Christmas shopping over there. There's some affiliate links, so if you guys use those links when you go shop, that will be supporting the show. And of course, we want to give a big thank you to Shapeways, your go-to destination for 3D printed dice and miniatures. Seriously, go check out Shapeways. They've got some really rad stuff over there on the website. It's really, really impressive. We will be back next week. We are not taking next week off. We have a special guest that you guys will have to tune in and check out. And then the week after that, the first week of January, that is the week that we will be taking off this season. That's all that I got. You guys have anything else you want to say to all these incredible peeps hanging out with us on stream and later on YouTube?
Just thanks for being awesome and stay nerdy.
Yeah. Thanks for hanging in there. Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays, all that jazz.
Absolutely. Merry
See
Christmas.
you next week.
Yes. Get nerdy things.
All right, guys. We'll catch you. Take care.